All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA show. So what I want to talk about is overeating and how it almost destroyed me. I like to take on different subject matters regarding my podcast, and this one's very dear to me because I think if I would have kept going on the way I was going on throughout my 30s, especially in my early 40s, I'd be dead. I'm not just saying that to say that. Just because of the way I started to feel, and just because of the way my body started to kind of, I can't say collapse, but just started to fall apart. And if I didn't make the changes that I made, I would be in really bad shape. And I think a lot of men and women, I presume, a lot of us are overeaters. I don't know where this started because when I was younger, I didn't like food that much. I was in an Italian household and everything was about food. My mother's an incredible cook. Not only with Italian foods, but desserts as well. And she can cook American food really well. She used to have St. Joseph tables that were in gymnasiums because so many people would come. I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking thousands. And they'd wrap around the damn gymnasium to get in. So it was like food was always in my face, which, now I love food. But when I was younger, I was exhausted from it. But I was always, I think because I wasn't eating enough a lot of times, I felt weak. I also think because I was playing so many sports, I was burning off so many calories. I would get woozy almost. And I just didn't have enough in the tank a lot of times. But something happened too, because I started to wrestle for many, many years. And then you got to cut weight and stuff. And then I started to really appreciate food. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved food, especially Italian food growing up. And I liked fast food. I grew up near a McDonald's and near corporate McDonald's in McDonald's University, believe it or not. And we liked Whoppers and things in that nature. But for the most part, it was Italian sausage, beef, pizza, Italian subs. That's kind of was our fast food, I guess you could say. But after high school, I moved to Florida. And then I really appreciated food because I didn't have any of the foods I grew up with. I started to find friends that owned Italian restaurants and hanging out with them, which was really good. But it was more New York style than Chicago style. And it was more, some were Italian. Thank God I found some good, close friends still to this day that were Sicilian and from Naples and that cooked authentic Italian food, which was amazing. But I wanted to get bigger. I graduated high school at 135 pounds, and I didn't know what was going on. But I just said, I got to eat like a goddamn animal. I was reading a lot of books, and I was shocked at all these guys, these bodybuilders, powerlifters and stuff, how much food they were, eating. I was like, that's impossible to eat 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. I was like, and then, supplements involved in there and all these different types of things. But I started it. I started taking supplements, and I started eating more and more and more. And before you know it, I just started to eat like a goddamn animal. It just started to click with me. I started to get more size. I grew like 4 inches, and I went from like 135 pounds to like 210, 220 pounds in a short amount of time, like a year and a half. So now I went from like being the smallest kid, and then when I would go back to Chicago, out of all my friends, I was the smallest, and I ended up being the biggest. It was very interesting. And before you know it, then I'm 220, 230, eating like a goddamn animal. I got to the point where I wanted to eat a steak a day, and I also had the finances to eat out as much as I wanted, and when I got married, get as many groceries as I wanted. But it was mainly a lot of eating out. I even had my back molars. I had specialty molars put in because I wanted to make sure they were strong enough to chew up the meat, because I was eating so much steak, chicken, and obviously everything else in between. But what I realized is as I kept eating more, it seemed like it really kicked in after 230. When I was starting to head into the 250, and I've discussed this before, I just could not stop sweating profusely. I was on overdrive. I would go up a flight of stairs and feel like I was going to pass out. I remember opening gifts and I could not. I was soaked. But on the other end, when I go into a gym, I was as strong as a bull for me. I was getting stronger and stronger. Cardio shot in the ass. And I was eating everything. I'd even, back to McDonald's in the morning, I'd eat a couple breakfasts there, stop for Einstein bagels, and I would even eat subs in the morning. I just was always eating, not always the healthiest food. Sometimes, believe it or not, I would eat healthy, too. It was kind of a combination between good and bad. A lot of oatmeal, smoothies, healthy smoothies, fruits, veggies, really, really a lot of fish, kind of like me now, but I just backed up my portions a little bit. But I just never stopped eating. I mean, most of my day revolved around eating and working out. And I remember driving once, my whole left arm went numb. I also remember my heart palpitations. I started getting all these skin tags. My chest was getting red. It was really weird. And I just couldn't breathe a lot of times. My snoring was off the chart because I was so heavy. And I just had to say, what the fuck am I doing this all for? I didn't do it because I wasn't a power lifter and I wasn't a bodybuilder. I started to find myself, my mother said I was a glutton. I think I became addicted to food. I also became insecure, incredibly. Because if I lost weight or I wasn't big, so like I'm trying to fit into a 5X shirt, so you go 2X, 3X. I was really probably a 3X, fit me pretty well. But I had a 5X shirt I would wear. Like, these are big shirts. I was like a 54-inch coat, 56 maybe. And I went to Vegas one time, and I'd have my clothes tailored there. And the guy brought out a belt, and it was as tall as I was. I said, what's that? And he goes, well, this is your waist. I'm like, what? And he's like, it's 40 inches. This is a 44 belt or whatever. It could be 38 or 45. I'm like, get the fuck. What? And then now that I look at pictures of myself. But if, I get we all have problems. And I used to go front and say I didn't think I had any addictions. But now that I've been doing podcasts and talking to people, I realized I had a lot of addiction issues. I just was unaware of them. I kind of threw addictions into smoking, drinking, gambling, maybe video games or certain things. But of course there's food addiction. But I thought I was doing that because it was making me stronger and healthier. And I've discussed this before. Eating the way I was eating was definitely not making me healthier. It was definitely hurting me, not helping me. But I'm just here. If you have a problem eating, why are you doing that? And I'm not a shrink by any means, but sometimes we just have to realize, why are we doing the things we're doing? I get it fulfills something. Something is there. And it could be getting a cup of coffee, a certain brand in the morning, fulfills you there. A tea maybe, foods, back to gambling, smoking. It does fulfill some void. It does. I don't know how else to explain it. I can relate to that. It's funny because I'm not a smoker. And I don't even like smoking cigars necessarily that much. But what's interesting is I just did it again. When I go with my buddies, when they go smoke cigars, it's not even about the flavor. It's about the ambiance, having a drink with them and having a cigar and laughing and joking. It's more. It's and I realized that with food too. It wasn't just about the food I was eating. It was about me going to a certain steakhouse, certain Italian restaurant, any restaurant for that matter, sitting down, being served, laughing if I was on a date or I was with my friends or family members, or even if it's for work and you all get together and you're laughing and joking. I love that. But, if you're somebody who finds yourself overeating a lot, I discuss this a lot. You may tell me to shut the hell up. Just slowly try to back up on your portions if you're looking to lose some weight. Too many people I've discussed this just try to all of a sudden change their entire diet. I think our food for the most part is how we're programmed and what we loved growing up. And for us to give that up is crazy. I know some people can. But maybe just, if you're having a problem eating too much food and you can't control yourself, right? No matter what you try. At the beginning, don't do anything, but just back up a little bit on each portion. I know that sounds crazy. You're like, yeah, but I can't, I still want to eat more or whatever. Also, this is one thing I learned too is when it comes to the grocery store, if you're somebody that cooks at home, just try to put less shit in the basket or have somebody else go shopping for you. If it's not in the house, you can't eat it. And I know you'd be like, who gives a shit? I'm going to run out to McDonald's. I'm going to run out here and get it anyways. I interviewed this one girl. She lost 170 pounds. She's on my podcast. And she said she was kind of, like she was always stopping through drive-thrus or just eating, even if, behind everyone's back, privately. And it was really amazing because I didn't think about that. Because I think for a lot of women, especially, they're trying to, you're gaining weight. She's 300 pounds. It's kind of obvious, but she's still kind of hiding it a little bit. I didn't hide it. But I don't know why when it comes to food. I'm not going to get into gambling on this one or anything else, but it's why we keep eating, especially when we know it's not doing anything for us. Are we self-destructive? Do we want to become obese? Do we want to die of a heart attack? Do we, or are we just craving all these different types of foods? I will say this. I actually used to I'm not a jealous person. I'm really not. I don't care what anybody else has or has gotten or whatever, if you know me. I'm down with everybody succeeding. I just live in my own world. But when I go to restaurants still to this day and I see them bringing out all the different dishes, I am jealous. I want to test every one of those dishes. Then I'll be at a table with a bunch of people or something. Let's say I order something, I'm looking at what they're got. I'm like, God, I should have ordered that, or I should have ordered both. Or I should, it's weird with food and I get it. But there does come a point in your life you really do have to really pay attention to this, because the older you get too, if you look, especially men, they gain that pound or whatever from like 130, from the age of, I think it's 35-ish or 40-ish to 70 or something. They gain like a pound a year, and a lot of it's in the stomach. You really want to just try to, and I get if you love food, because so do I. My God, I'm thinking about it right now. I got to go eat lunch. But just taking an honest approach and maintaining a certain weight and trying not to have forget the diet aspect if you can't do that. Let's forget that shit. Let's forget dieting. Let's forget all that right now. Just trying to hold a certain weight that's healthy to a certain degree. And, whatever that is, just take an honest approach. If you're way overweight, I talk about it. You can listen to my podcast or videos, learning to lose a pound a week. I talk about. If that doesn't work for you, I get it. Maybe a pound a month. I look at the long term of losing weight and doing it very slow. But just please take an honest approach when it comes to what you're eating and how you feel. If you want to be around later in life, and you want to, if you got kids, and I talk about this. I'm going to wrap this up with my daughters. Just recently too, like a lot of my bad eating habits, I threw onto them. And what's weird is I eat everything for the most part, okay? They don't want anything now that they're older. They have issues with everything. They don't do seafood. They don't do a lot of things. I'm not even going to get into it. But we used to eat a lot of Italian foods, and then we would go, say, I'd pick up a box of Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts or something for later, or Publix. Then I would also go for ice cream every night, and then we'd get home, and a lot of times I would have other snacks or getting milkshakes. Like I always throwing a lot of sweets in and eating all different times of the day. And one of my oldest daughter, she got heavy, and she's like, and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just want to make sure my kids were always having fun and eating good meals, steaks all the time, eating out a lot more than we should. And, you got to pay attention to those things if you're an overeater or you're eating a lot, because if you have kids or you're cooking too much food or all these things, it's not just about your health. It's about others as well sometimes. And, I just thought I would do a crazy podcast on this. But please, if you're overeating, reach out to me or others. And sometimes I get you want to, what was that, Jenny Craig? I don't know which one. I worked with a company for a month, excuse me, regarding, a weight loss clinic. And I seen all the people coming in and out of there. And that's wonderful. Whatever it takes, you know what I mean? But if you failed going to weight loss clinics, or you got sick of the food, or you've gone to the gym and quit, or you don't like exercising and you keep gaining weight, you just don't feel good, we have to come to a conclusion here on what's going to start helping you. And because don't let it get too far. That's the main thing. I went too far. Thank God I was able to back it up slowly but surely, and I knew my body well enough. But I see so many people that are just so obese right now, and for some reason or another, they can't seem to stop eating. They're also having a lot of problems with their knees, their hips, their ankles, and all these different types of things, and I don't want it to go that far if it doesn't have to. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Rich CELENZA. And also I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All right? Take care.